10th, 2026. Tonight we have present Ms. Lane, Mr. Caffey, Mr. Massey, and Ms. Massey. Mr. Moon is not here tonight. And with that, I will ask you to join in the invocation. Most gracious Heavenly Father, tonight we come together to do the business of the city. We ask that you lead and direct us as we ought to go to serve the citizens of this community as best we can. Father, we know that we are charged and challenged every day, and that it takes kind of special people who are willing to step up and to do this sort of thing on a monthly basis and to continue doing that, and we thank you for their willingness to do that. Father, tonight we pray for those in our community who are grieving. Be with them, wrap your loving arms around them. Be with those who are ill, who are facing illnesses, and who may be facing long-term recoveries. Father, we pray for our national leaders, we pray for our state leaders, and again, we pray for those of us here. Forgive us where we failed you. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. I don't believe we've had anyone sign up for the public forum. Everyone that's here, I believe, that's speaking is on the agenda. So I'm going to dispense with reading the public forum component. We'll move to item 5, the consent items. And I know that there have been some corrections that have been sent to Chastity, and she has addressed those. If you have other corrections that you want to bring to her attention, you do that. At this time, you should have the minutes of the previous meeting, the City Council meeting of January 20th, the liabilities and disbursements, in other words, the income and the outgoing, the City Secretary report, Police Department report, the Utilities Department report, and the Fire Department report. And by the way, tonight, he had to put his own table out down there, but the Fire Chief, Mr. Rickman, Joy Rickman, is here tonight with us. We'll try to be a little more accommodating next time. So unless there are corrections or there's any discussion on any of these particular items, I'll take a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items with corrections to the minutes from January 20th.
Okay, you approve the consent item with the corrections made for January 20th. All right, do we have a second? I have a second from Ms. Lane, motion from Ms. Massey. All in favor? Raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. This time, we'll entertain any presentations, information only, not action items that any member of the council might want to make at this time. I would call to your attention, those of you who are here and those who are on the council, that at this particular time we have a J. Frank Joby exhibit in the Crockett Room. And this is provided by the National Endowment of Humanities funding and the generous funding of the Summer Lee Foundation and the Texas Commission on Arts. There's a lot of interesting items in there, and especially if you're interested in barbed wire, there's 4 different shadow boxes in there that have examples of early barbed wire that was used here in Texas. It's a very interesting exhibit. It will be here until March 14th. The other is that we have a letter from the Fannin County Children's Center, and I just take time to read this to you. And basically, they are thanking the city for the generous support of the Fannin County Children's Center for 2025. And the contributions, as they point out, enable them to provide vital services to those in need. And they've listed the funds that we have made available to them to help support that program. And I'll give this to Chastity as we finish. Hearing no other comments from anyone, we'll move down to new business. We have no old business at all. We want to thank, it fell on the floor, so I don't need to do anything with that. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move to new business. Sriram is here, and the presentation by Sriram is a discussion about the lead water pipe grants and preparing a TCE. Are you talking about that? No, you're not talking about that.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to point out, Mayor.
Well, that's okay. You're talking about the next item, I think.
Okay.
Correct? Yeah. I thought perhaps you might be standing in on that item as well. You all have some information on the presentation that was to be made, and I'm going to, if it's agreeable to you, I'm going to pull it from the agenda, because we had a conversation about that in terms of whether or not we would be interested in another grant, and we know that we're not interested in anything that we're going to have to match tremendously. But the main thing was to have a representative who was going to talk about putting together the program that we will eventually have to put together. And so we'll just then go to item B, which is a presentation of TDA Form A-1024 CDBG Section 3. Is that what you're talking about? No.
Sir. No, I'm talking about the 2024 CDBG water systems improvements.
Okay, well then let me go ahead and do item B, and then we'll move down. Okay, thank you. Sriram is from the engineering firm that helps us with a lot of our different projects. So we will move down to the next item, and it's a presentation of TDA Form A-1024 CDBG Section 3 Goals and Concepts as related to the program and grant contract. You have in your packet the information that details that, and essentially we have approved, essentially last time we approved the bid from Macmillan to do this, and I think the question that you all had was our matching funds and when those would be due, correct? And so we did have a conversation today with representatives there, and the amount of the award contract will be based on the letter received from the engineers, which was $460,814.33. The amount of the match is a percentage of the total contract, which is $129.96. So doing this will leave about $81,000 for engineering and the rest for construction. And if awarding all four schedules and changing the ordering down, we'll use the full grant, the grant amount, and the original math amount of $149,800, $18,500 for engineering, and the rest for construction. Is that what you came to talk about? Okay, we're ready.
Yeah. So we've received.
And let me just say this before moving on. When Chastity and I spoke today with the representative, he basically told us that the is that not the same one?
I'm talking to Lee, sorry.
Oh, you're talking to Lee over there? Okay.
He's trying to give me my microphone.
Is there not a mic over there?
Yes.
Okay. When we talked to him, he told us today that could be paid in the new budget year, not in this budget year, the matching funds that we have to come up with. Okay, now.
All right. So we received a total of 4 bids.
You'll have to hold it really close.
We received a.
Yeah. Why don't you come take mine?
Sure.
Oh, there comes Lee. He's got one right there.
Thank you.
Yes.
So we received a total of 4 bids, and the lowest bidder on the project was McKinney Moore. There were schedules identified in the project. And out of that, like you mentioned previously, there are, limited funds available on the CDBG, project funds and also on the ARPA project funds that we are trying to match, to try and make a match. So our recommendation would be to award, 3 of the bid schedules, bid schedule 1, 2, and 4.
Yes.
Out of the 4, and that will total up to $460,000, 814 cents and $814.33. So that it won't cover the entire amount, but what we're planning to do is there is a footage of line that we're putting in, almost about 1,000 feet of line, of 10-inch line that we're putting in close to the pump station, the north pump station. So we are trying to dial back on that depending on the amount of funds that we have left. So the recommendation, from us is award the bid schedules 1, 2, and 4 for the
The
amount.
council last time approved the award to McKinney and Moore, Texas. The question really had to do with us when we would have to pay our portion of the matching funds. That's always, at this point, that's one of our concerns. And that was clarified today that we would not have to pay that in this budget year.
Yes.
Okay. The council has already really approved this, so we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. And
Unless they have questions about the matching.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Anything on that? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Item C is Erica Lowe with Bureau Veritas, review an inspection document required for the city inspections. And Ms. Lowe is with us. Appreciate it. You're coming out here this evening.
Hi.
Hey.
How are y'all doing? All right, thank you for having me. My name is Erica Lowe. I am the commercial plan review manager for Bureau Veritas. And Chauncey told me that y'all had some questions just about the permitting process and the plan review process and inspection process. So I'm here just to answer any questions if there are any. I gave an overview to everybody just of the procedure from beginning of the permit submittal process all the way to inspections, scheduling. And honestly, we try to make it a very easy process. The biggest hurdles that we encounter are going to be on that permit application in the very beginning of the plan review. That's where we kind of encounter the most issues, just because the applicants usually don't provide enough information. So the more the information that can be received at the city side when they first go to submit the permit, it makes our jobs a lot easier, and the communication is a lot better moving forward through the plan review and inspection side. So I know I live in Green County, so I know that this growth is coming. I get it. So I know that there's probably going to be some residentials before the commercial hits. Our residential plan review time right now is 5 business days is what we strive to hit. I think we're hitting around 3 right now, but 5 days is the goal that we do tell y'all. And then for commercial projects, we have a 10 business day turnaround time for commercial projects. In the packet that I submitted, I give an outline just of what kind of documents we look for so that the applicant is very prepared when they turn in those documents, and this is everything that they should have. Again, just to make that process a lot easier for the city, the contractor, and for Bureau Veritas. I didn't know if there was anything in particular that I can answer any questions. I also put in there when permits are not required, and that comes up quite often when people are confused on if they need to apply for a permit or not. Chastity told me that y'all are under the 2009 IBC. Do we know about the IRC? That's okay. So what I have right now in the permit that I gave you is based off of 2009 IBC and 2009 RC. If that does change in the future, I would recommend looking into that, but when that does change, there are some variances in those permit exceptions, so we can revisit that in the future, just to make sure that everyone is up to date on when permits are not required.
Questions from the council?
I don't think I have anything. I think this is exactly what we were looking for, is just a layout of how everything works so that there is no confusion, that we can get it out to the community as well as our city girls knowing exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there is ever any questions, Chastity, please call us. We encounter all sorts of things, so there will be some hiccups. I can probably tell you once this growth kind of, comes in, there will be some hiccups, but once you get over those hurdles, it'll be really easy to fly through these applications. Any other questions?
Anything else? No questions? No issues? Good?
Awesome. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Being with us. Item D is abandonment of alleyway and gaining easement from 14th Street to 12th Street and runs between Pacific and Scott. And tonight we have Mr. Clark Sanderson from Sanderson Survey, and he's going to answer questions. Come on up, please. This is a piece of property that we've wrangled about for a while, had previous owners, and different things have happened down there on 14th and Scott and Pacific, and so we have a situation where we need to take some corrective action, I think. And so, and it involves an easement through the property from 14th Street to 34th Street. Go ahead.
That's correct. What I understand is that's not really an easement, but it's a platted alley, because there's a lot, back when those lots were platted, those alleys were put there where they could take a car and get out the outhouses. And then later, those alleys were used for putting sewer lines and things of that nature. I know that one question that was asked me in the phone call was, did I understand that dedicated roads and streets were they owned by the city? I believe they are. I know that what we learned in school is when you file a plat and you sign that affidavit on there of dedication, you dedicate roadways and easements to the city. We've done a lot of extensive work over the past 35 years in Bottom, where they've eliminated a lot of alleys and abandoned some streets. And the protocol has always been to issue those people a general warranty deed, and they get a title policy on those strips. So to me, that kind of confirms that the cities do own outright roads that are dedicated to them. That's what I understand. And so we've done a lot of these in the past where they've eliminated alleys and streets. And I do not know if this is a law, but the protocol has always been, when we work in Bonham, is that if they abandon a street or alley, they give the option to each landowner on each side of that alley or road to purchase their half of that road. If they do not want to purchase their half of the road, then the neighbor on the other side must either not purchase any or purchase all of that area. And that's really only the fair way to do it. Imagine if you didn't have that rule in place, it could show some favoritism to let one person buy all of it or not. So it stands to me that that must be a protocol or law, and we follow that in everything we've done at the bottom in closing and splitting alleys. One thing that that has not been the practice in the past, because as a young boy, a young man, I went from a grandfather that was county surveyor, and we would go in the city, and if somebody wanted to sell part of their platted lot to a neighbor, we'd just drop out the chain, put pins down, measure it, and hand them a survey. That's not the way it works. the way the rule is that when you file a plat at the courthouse, if you want to eliminate a boundary line, move a boundary line, or add a boundary line, you must file a replat at the county on those lots that have changed that actually override the original plat. Trenton was the first city that made us start putting this statement on all plats. It is against state law and city ordinance to convey any part of any of this property by meets and bounds. In other words, come and do a survey and describe in bearings and distances a part of a platted lot. And so how the city of Trenton handles that is that if you do change one of those boundary lines and you do not file a replat, then they won't give you a permit to build, or they can withhold your utilities. And that's how they keep people to do that. And if you can imagine, those plats are filed for record, and they're filed for record for a purpose that anybody can come in and get a copy of that plat and know that what's on that plat is exactly what they own. And that's another reason why when you buy a lot in town, it's never described in bearings and distance. It only refers to the lot number and the recorded plat. So in the instance that we're talking about, one landowner owns two pieces of property. They're on different sides of this alley. And so it's my understanding there are utilities in that alley. I think a sewer line, if I'm not mistaken. But even in Bonner, when we've done some of these, they will convey that part of the alleyway, but retain an easement to keep the utilities in there. And the main reason this comes up, the same situation here, is most cities have an ordinance that if you own multiple lots, you can't build a house on one and a garage on the other and a storage building on it. You can only build on one lot. So it's very common we come in when people own 2 or 3 lots and plat them into one lot so that they can have different buildings spread out throughout that. And for this particular situation, it's separated by that alley. I can see one option would be to convey that section of the alley to that landowner. So, and then that would need all of that property, both of their lots in the alley would need to be replatted into one lot. And that would be my understanding that they would meet the state ordinance that in changing those boundaries, they filed a replat to recover. And I think it's important to inform the public if they're going to change a boundary on a recorded plat, they have to file a replat to override that original plat.
Now this one is one that, in fact, quite frankly, this property down there has been an ongoing kind of thing where another person bought it on the sheriff's sale. And when he bought it, he said, my boundaries go all the way across what we consider our easement. Mm-hmm. He said, that's what I bought. And I said, but there's a sewer line through there. And I said, he was putting a fence up. And I said, I don't think you want to put the fence on the sewer line because our guys are going to have to get through there. Well, in the meantime, and his plan, he sold the property and the guy who bought it was going to do something entirely different. And then they changed their mind and did something else. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of a long story. But I think what you're suggesting is that we basically convey that to them, that part of it, and retain our ability to get on the property and to do what we need to do.
Yes, and like any other easement, they wouldn't be able to fence you out. I mean, they have to maintain your access to the property.
Yeah.
But filing a replat would be the correct way to do that. Accompanied with the deed on that. And I know there's been some question about it, if the city really has any title to that property. It's my understanding that they do.
Questions from Mr. Sanderson? This actually brings the owner back into compliance with the properties that they own by replatting.
Who owns those 2
Which
The
is-
94774 and 94773.
that
I can't
is
find it.
Renita and I can't remember his name. And then that other one is where Brent lives. Or has his, so.
Other questions? Mr. Hamilton?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Saw? I agree with the issue. I do not agree with the remedy. And here's why. You do not require an ownership interest in land to a plat. And let me give you the reason why I say it. If the city wanted to go sell that surface right-of-way, roadway use, it couldn't do it. It doesn't have title to it. It has what I would call a permanent roadway maintenance because of the dedication of the roads. So you can't pass that back by saying we're gonna deed this land to you because you don't own it. Now, I don't know where the presenter got that data. Never was taught to me in law school. And I mean, how they handle it someplace else. But I won't do it. Because I don't think the city has any ownership interest in that land. I think it has it's like a permanent easement roadway. So what you have to do is you have to abandon that. And we've done that before in the city. We've abandoned the plat. And what that does is it says, okay, it's like before the plat was ever issued. Whoever owns that land then, they own it now. But I think the deeds of those things are worthless because the city can't own it. You can't sell it. The impediment here is the plat, not the ownership. It's the plat that's causing the problem. And so let's say you just go in and you deed that land over to these people, there's still a dedicated roadway on their land if you don't abandon it. So what does that leave them with? In 10 years, if the city comes in and says, hey, guess what? We decided we want that out. It's still dedicated. They can't sell it because it still has that on. So I think that the remedy is to abandon the plat. It's got to be platted. It's got to be once that's done. And then it just the ownership of the land then reverts back to whoever had it before. And should the city get involved in doing that, you don't have an ownership interest in it. So I say get it. That's me.
I'm certainly not claiming to be an attorney. I respect your
I don't play at it either, as a matter of fact.
All right.
And I'm just basing that on what we've done in the past.
I hear you. And if I had a nickel for every time somebody told me I've always done it, I would already be back over in Paris drinking coffee someplace else. I understand what you're saying, and that was what I was hit with the very first time that the city secretary brought this up to me. You can just deed this back. I don't think you can because you don't own it. Your position is that that plat actually transfers ownership. I sat here and did some research while we were talking, and it said, nope, a plat does not transfer ownership. So I don't know what Bonds doing, and that may be the way they just decided to slide through this. And it's one of these things, it's not a problem until it's a problem.
Right.
Could be, I don't know. But I can't recommend that these folks do a deed. My opinion to them is you don't own it. And you still got the same problem out there. You've got to abandon that plat. I mean, that road, if you want to get rid of it. You just have to. And it's, the process is complicated, but not. We've done it, I think, once, maybe twice here. So, there's a remedy. There's a fix. It's just that he does it one way and I do it another.
I will say this, each time we did a road, there was an abandonment document that was filed before they let us do that. But we did put pins down, and I know that people got a title policy on that. So I don't know how that works. It could have had exclusion in there, which gave a policy, but excluded liability for people coming back and claiming this.
Sometimes title companies want even though things are cleared up, they want some sort of document. And what I can see happening in your case is, okay, the plat's abandoned, there's no longer a thing there. But just so everybody understands, the city says, hey, we don't know if we own anything in this or not, or we're gonna deed it back to whoever that is.
Right.
And that might be what you're doing. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think the city can just say, hey, we'll fix this by doing a deed. But it may be exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
Hey, did we make that clear to Bud?
Yeah. Okay, what's the pleasure of the council? Any questions, or what would you want to do? Call you?
What you want me to do is get the plat and file for an abandonment, because that's gonna take a little while.
Okay.
Get that done. That's a couple of week deal. So you need to authorize me to abandon whatever this plat is. Is there a plat that's got this on it? Yeah, so I can get it from him or somebody. We'll abandon that probably at the next meeting, and then we'll decide what we need to do for the surface owners then to get their title back together. How about that?
That sounds like, do I hear a motion to authorize Mr. Hamilton to handle the paperwork for us?
Are we just talking about, Mr. Hamilton, the alleyway that is adjacent to 94761
Okay,
over to 14th Street? Or are you talking about the entire block?
you get to decide. You get to tell me how much of this alleyway, because it'll be in the abandonment document. We're gonna abandon this alleyway from here. It can be a block, it can be a house, it can be so many feet long, or you can get rid of the whole thing.
Here's my question. Do you have this in front of
You
you?
have this.
Okay, so 94761, upper right-hand corner. Okay, the owners of that are not the same owners as 94774.
Okay,
So how can we, and then the same for the 94766 all the way through 94762.
Yeah.
How can we abandon it and give it to,
we don't get it. We don't
so
get it.
what happens? Like,
It's just like that's marked off. And then if there's a dispute between those two owners, like who owns which side of the Red River? Is it Oklahoma or Texas? That's been litigated for 20 years. It's the same thing. Who owns this? And so if they want to, they can have it surveyed off, they can agree how that's done. But before this was platted, it was all owned by one person.
so what's the benefit of doing that, of abandoning it?
You have to decide. No, you can't, nobody can build anything on it. You can't put anything on top of that alley, because that is a dedicated street. And if they built something on it, the city can come in and say, you know what, you need to take that up and get it off of there. And that will be on every title opinion they'll ever get, as you well know. That'll be on there. There's a dedicated alley there, and you're buying it with that on it. So I'll bet that when those people bought at 774 and 761, when they bought that, their title opinion says, hey, guess what? You've got a dedicated alley at the north or the south end of your property. So there's an awareness there that goes on. What generally happens is, it's the midline, as we talked about. You just say, hey, you guys need to decide how much of that you guys want. But that's really not, even if the city said, we're gonna abandon our interest by deed, like you said, we don't know. Who would you deed it to? It's the same problem. Who owns it? And so that's something those property owners are gonna have to figure out amongst themselves. The best we can accommodate is that alleyway's not gonna be there anymore, and there's a 10 or 20 foot wide piece of property that before it was platted, you could tell who the owner of it was. But now you may not be able to. It would depend a lot on what that survey, when they bought them. I'd like to look at that and see if the survey included any of the alley. If it does, then you know that they bought all that, but they can't use the north half of it. And you can tell how looking at the survey. It's just on.
And I do not know. I know that when Mr. Bass approached us, he was the one who bought it on the sheriff's sale. And he basically would argue that that he bought that part of the alleyway. And I said, it doesn't matter, the reality is there's a sewer line down through there.
It's a great argument, but it's one of the city that can't remedy.
Yeah.
I wasn't at the sheriff's sale, I don't know what the sheriff's sale, I have no idea. But if he's claiming ownership interest in that, then maybe that's something that he and his neighbor to the south need to look at. Because there will be some description in those documents about what you got. And if that's in there, it's easy to figure out. If it's not, then it becomes a real problem. But not for the city. All the city has is an alley through there. So the question then becomes, how much of that alley do you want to get rid of? Because look, if you take it off there, is this north-south? So I don't know. I'm going to say the right-hand side of this, deal, if you cut that alleyway off, that virtually becomes like a dead-end street down there. There's no access to 14th Street.
Oh, that's right.
That's all, it's a ditch anyway. But still,
There's no access to get into
And
that
not
from here
owned by the
without
city.
cutting across.
Yes.
so we got a drainage ditch in there. And as I understand it, help me out, we have utilities in that alley.
We have a
So
sewer
we've
line.
got to retain the utility easement, whatever we do. And that's where we may be in the hunt, because if we say, hey, we're abandoning our alleyway, then we don't have to get an easement. We may have an easement by prescription through there, but it would be nice just to tidy everything up and say, we gotta get an easement up here, and who signs the easement for us? Whoever owns that. So somebody's got to figure out who owns it.
Okay, so the fix, let's back up.
If this were easy, anybody can do it, that's what
Okay.
I'm telling you. Yeah, it becomes more and more complicated, because in smaller places like this, people just came in and they did, hey, we're gonna plat everything. So our city has plats all over the world. And you start digging it up, we haven't used it, there's a ditch there, you can't even get into the property. And then somebody else buys it and goes, hey, I wanna do this, you go, well, you're violating our code. Well, you got an alley behind my house. So it gets more and more complicated as years go by. If this whole alleyway serves no purpose for the city and will not serve a purpose to the city's not intending to put anything out, you need to get rid of the whole thing.
Well, we can't, that's not on the table because we have a sewer line.
We have a
going
sewer
through.
line.
So,
No,
unless we move the
get
sewer.
rid of the alley, you still gotta get an
Yeah.
easement down through there,
Right.
which will create the same problem for the owner. They can't build on top of our easement, so we really need to get rid of the alley.
Well, I feel like it's a moot point.
Yeah, so you got, if we've got a utility line down through there, the city may not want to give up the alleyway, because right now, it's like an easement for us. And if we have our utilities in there, we have got to get in and out of there to service them. So it may not be a good thing for the city to do this.
Why are we even having this conversation? Is one of the property owners asking about it, or is
They
it us?
actually got called him too, but they put those sheds on that property, so they were gonna replat all of that. They bought that property from us, the 94767, 94768, and then they own 94761, so they were gonna replat all of that, so they could legally have those sheds on there. Remember, that was my mess up.
Okay. So what city ordinances?
But when I called Fannin CAD, they told me that we own the alleyway, and we would have to deed it over, and that's when I called you.
I hear you, and I said, what? What?
And I called survey.
So, it might be a better, let's think about this out loud. It might be better for the city to present what's going on, is it 761? Is that the one we're issuing? Might be a better issue for the city to present that to a board of adjustments. They go, hey, there's a hardship here, this guy didn't create it, where's he got this stuff? Let's look at it and see if we want to grant some sort of zoning variance on this property, as opposed to, because I'm starting to believe, like the mayor pro tem, but we got to have access to our utilities, man. doesn't create a problem, we're just calling it another name. Instead of an alley, we're gonna have to get an easement. And they still got the same problem, they can't build it, they got offset and all of that. So maybe it's a Board of Adjustments problem as opposed to us.
Well, that was my question to begin with. Why would we give up an easement?
Yeah, well, because it's not called that,
Yeah,
but as we talk it out, it actually is for us. It's an easement by any other name.
Yeah.
So there's no advantage to us to give that up. It's just more work, and the result of the property owner is absolutely the same. The same.
I will say this, in Bond, in Dot City, they would consider abandoning an alley that's got no utility in it. So they won't even entertain that. There's only been one time in Bonham that they abandoned an alley and we divided amongst the neighbors that had utility in it. They all had agreed to sign the utility easement the same width as the alley. So it basically, the use stayed exactly the same. They could just mow it and walk across it to connect the properties.
Yeah.
But they still require that easement same width as alleys, and wouldn't let them fence across it either.
Sure, I hear you.
all right. No action at this point.
Let me do this. Let me get with Chastity and get what's on the ground out there right now. And it is, has the owner been told, you gotta stop? He's not doing anything, no construction?
Not anymore, no.
Not-
But he's already put the sheds in.
Yes, they are. Yes, they
They're
are.
building,
They're still doing
They're
stuff?
putting
they're
fences
putting
up.
porches on the 2 sheds. They've started fencing. They've got people out there every day.
Okay, all right.
Last time I went over there, they had stopped.
They've been building stuff since they started.
I haven't been back that way.
So what is the goal on this property? You got.
It was supposed to be just a he shed, she shed on that property. They moved them, they sold their house in Sumner and moved these in. And I made the mistake when I said, when y'all bought that trailer, that's your backyard. So,
You can beat yourself up
Let's-
a lot. It's
yeah.
it's good.
Let's see what we do. Yeah.
Let me talk to you. You have like not a scale, but some sort of drawing of what this looks like. I mean, if I saw what you had, would I be able to tell offsets and where everything is supposed to be?
well, I'm not an artist, but I'll try, yes.
No, I'm not asking you. I'm asking.
Oh,
Give me
Yeah.
some sort of site plan before we started building.
they didn't build, they brought them in, they were just,
But still,
yeah.
I think we're entitled to say, hey, guess what? What are you gonna put on there and where's it gonna be? So we need to get.
Yes, we have that, yes, we have that information.
I need that data, and then what I'll propose, I'll either come back and say, hey, we need to do this,
Yeah.
or we need to do the Board of Adjustments and see if we can get a variance on it and see what's gonna happen.
Let's authorize Mr. Hamilton to continue to do research and investigate for us. Questions, comments? Mr. Sanderson, thank you for coming,
I approve those, please call me anytime.
for being here.
Appreciate
Yes.
your input.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, always.
So needing a motion to pass this, no?
I think we can approve his authorizing him to do the research if you like.
I'm sorry.
He asked about whether or not we needed to authorize you to do the research and to continue.
Sure. I'll look for the authorized.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite things.
Do I hear a motion to authorize Mr. Hamilton?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. We have a motion from Mr. Caffey to authorize our city attorney to pursue this and investigate and come back to us and make some recommendations. Do we have a second? Have a second from Mr. Massey. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you so much. I'm going to let me just stop just a minute and say this. If we seem a little harried, we had an ice storm in the middle of everything, and some of these items were really supposed to be on our workshop. And in an attempt to not have 2 meetings, we have moved some things, shifted some things, and they became items for discussion rather than workshop. So we're moving along at this point. I appreciate your patience. Item E is a contract with Honey Grove ISD and the City of Honey Grove for the election. Historically, the City of Honey Grove and the school have worked together on the election. And generally speaking, 1 year the school will set up and handle the election, and then 1 year the city will. The last few years, the school has been very happy for the city to handle early voting. And so that has been the kind of the pattern, and I think that's probably going to be the pattern this time. The difference is that there are a lot of changes and new things that are happening with voting, and so it's taking some time for the various people who are involved in that. The other thing is that we have been told fairly recently that we're going to have to buy the equipment. And so Chastity has been out to talk to the superintendent of schools about whether or not they will split the cost with Honey Grove to purchase. We think they will, but that's where we are. So we will, again, we already know we will host the early election at City Hall this time. Are there questions or comments about this? Yes.
If we do not end up having an election for city council, are we bound to having to pay?
You know what? That's a good question.
That's a very good question because they're kind of in the same boat we are in. They haven't really got.
I think the question though is that suppose
that's what I'm saying. They're in the same boat.
They have candidates. Do you know if they have yet candidates?
That's what they're kind of the way we are
right
now.
Okay.
It's answered. It says, an entity that cancels an election will be liable for costs incurred by the election administrator. So, those costs.
What about purchasing the machine?
If you buy it, you own it.
But even if we don't have an election, this is my thing. The machines, this cost is gonna be $20,000. And the way this lady explained, the election administrator explained to me, and Jackie, and Missy was there, was we're gonna have to purchase these machines because every even year, they're not gonna contract with us if she doesn't have the staff. So if school has to have an election, you'd wanna go in half with them, even if we don't, so we're not out the full cost of the machine next time. That's just my suggestion on that part of it,
But we don't know that.
$27,000, that's just for the city employee, y'all are gonna need more than what we would. And it's gonna cost us $27,000.
yeah, it's really expensive, so if we could split it with them,
Yeah.
Is that this year?
yes.
Yeah. They just
If
run
we have to have
this.
an election, yes ma'am.
Yeah.
And she just hit this with us like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I met with her and the judge.
So, yes.
Where's that in the budget?
It's not.
It's not, because we didn't know.
Yeah, I think we need to try and do something to negotiate with the county or something to try to buy us some time. Isabel, do you, as a election person, do you know anything about this? I mean,
you won't be able to negotiate that part. She's working under the Secretary of State's direction, and she's one of us got her hands back for that.
And our Pacific will not rent the machines, you
have to
must
buy.
purchase them
Right.
from me.
It's my understanding that the elections administrator was not budgeted for additional help, really.
County commissioners.
Yeah. So, but we really don't have a choice. We're gonna have to buy them, and if the school will share with us, that's the big thing. And I think they will see it as an advantage. But I suppose we need to go ahead and agree that we do a joint election. If we don't have an election, they may, and they may not either. but we're still gonna have the equipment, we just might not have to have it this year, I don't know.
She has an option every even year.
Do we know that we can share the equipment? If we have it one year, the school has it one year, I mean, who owns it?
If
Can
the
they
city
borrow
and the
it?
school have an election, they have to have it together.
No, what I'm saying is on the machine, if the city invests money in it, can we share it with the school district?
Yes, you can put the same ballot on the same machine.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the machine. If we don't have an election and they do one year and the next year it's opposite, that machine can go back and forth between the city and the ISD.
Correct.
Okay.
And how many years are these machines gonna be the same? Because I think they've changed every year.
I was gonna say, I asked Ian, because I said, we don't wanna, purchase these and in 2 years, y'all say we need to upgrade. The only reason we can't rent them is because they've done the upgrade and the old machines don't work anymore with the new stuff. He said that their last equipment and machines, they had them for like 25 years. So, because that was my question.
And I will say that part, when you get with part, once you bought the machines, there are some software updates, things like that may come. Part can come out and help get those software updates done. I don't know what the cost is. I don't work that part of it, but I work with the machines. And, they can help with that. But it's a good investment down the road. I can tell you the EA did not see this coming. What was happening before wasn't unlawful, it just wasn't best practice.
And the Hart representative came and spoke with us. He happened to be in Bonham, and I got a hold of him, and he said he came over to Honey Grove and spoke with us about the machines, and the way he talked, I guess we would not be out the upgrades. That kind of comes with the deal.
And y'all are not the only ones in this boat. Every school district, every city is gonna end up having to do with something. Some of them, I mean, Chastain's been working, trying to get there, some cities.
I think the difficulty, of course, is not knowing until a couple of weeks ago when Chastity, and we actually asked Jackie Garner to go with her over there because it's a little more complicated this time. And Chastity had kind of gone through an election, but it's a little different. And so they had this conversation, and basically were told that you have to purchase this. And so it came after budget planning and building it in. If you'd known, if we'd known when the budget was built, we could have planned for it. But we think the school will go in with us. And like I said, historically, the last few years, the city has handled early voting. That doesn't mean they will continue to do that. So,
What if, and that what if drives me crazy, but what if the school does not?
Then I would say the school doesn't get to use our machine. I mean, that's my own personal thing, but I mean, it behooves the city the school district to go in with us, purchase a machine, or however many we have to have.
You don't know how many machines you're gonna have?
He said we could go.
How many y'all got to purchase? It's gonna take 4, it's gonna take 6. Do y'all know any of that yet?
Yes. We called the Secretary of State. She said we could get away with one ADA machine
For the city?
and the school together combined. They go by population. One machine, one ADA machine. Yes, but one actual
Yeah.
voting machine.
One.
You get the scanner for the early election and the one for the day of, is what they told us.
I've done elections for 21 years.
Well, I think the question for us at this point is, do we want to continue the joint election agreement that we've shared all these years, and do we continue?
You have to look, in our reality, you need to look at how many people you have as registered voters for Honey Grove ISD, and usually take somewhere between 10 to 17% of that, because that's what the normal percentage is of people voting. that actually come out, that's the norm. It could be more, it could be less, depends on the deal. Like they said, it can be slow, you got one machine, it's gonna be slow, because every person gotta use that one machine.
Okay, what is your pleasure on the item?
I have another question, I'm sorry, I know we're waiting on a motion, but, this is every other year, they're not going to allow us to use the machine, or every year? Because what's the difference in years?
The Secretary of State gives the county the option every even year, because of primaries and everything, elections are so big. The county has the option every even year to not do contracts for elections. Every odd year, they don't have that option. But are you gonna take a chance? This year you're gonna do it, next year you're not, next year you're not, you are gonna do it. And the new election administrator, she doesn't know if she's gonna have anybody to be able to help her. It used to be the whole county clerk's office. It's just her and one other person.
She has one staff person right now.
That is
Is
not.
anybody else? Because I know one of them right now, here's the election, they use temporaries.
Right.
They only have one staff person.
Right.
And she's maxed out on
That
it.
she,
I also asked her, because personally, we buy the machine, I don't see why we don't do it every year ourselves instead of, and I asked her if we could do that, and she said, yes, we don't have to contract with them on the odd years.
But you're talking about contracting the people or the machine?
The machines, and them do the election. Yes.
And who decided that this year? Was it our commissioners, or the elections administrator, or the Secretary of State?
Secretary of State.
And
I
then-
can tell you that it came from them.
How is it an option? Because you said it was an option every other year. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Cities have elections every year. Not everybody has an election.
Right.
Hold on.
Hold on.
General elections for statewide and federal officials are held every other year.
Right.
So that's the basis for the division. Cities have elections every May.
We potentially have one.
That's why there's that distinction. Now, whether you agree with it or not, it's another story.
Well, that's what
They don't have to unwarehouse their stuff to get out for just a city election.
That's why I was asking who made the decision, if it was county people that made the decision that, oh, we're not gonna do it, or if it was above her.
It's above. I know something to say.
Thank you.
It was above, and so we are back to the question, do we plan for a joint and share expenses with the contract?
And this joint election agreement right now is just us agreeing that we will go in together. This is nothing to do with buying boxes or anything like that.
No,
No.
but the way, we went and spoke to Todd the other day, he did agree that they're looking at the same budget we are right now, and they would go in half with us.
So he has said they'll go in with us. So that's,
Okay.
that's,
Now, he did in that
But
meeting.
that's not what
He
we're
did in the
talking
meeting.
about right now.
he said he'd do it in the meeting, he'll do it.
We're just talking about the joint election right now.
Yeah,
Joint
we're
election.
talking about the joint
I-
election.
I motion that we
For something
agree
else
to
on
do the
there.
joint election with the Honey Grove Independent School District
Yeah, and I think it talks about splitting the expenses, so.
and splitting the
that's
expenses
right.
with them.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Lane that we agreed to work a joint election agreement. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Thank you, Kathy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. This is a request from Sanitation Solutions to increase the sanitation cost by 2.51 due to general liability insurance, truck and equipment cost, and landfill compliance cost. And actually, Ms. Lane was onto something when she questioned the section that they referred to. There is a section that basically allows them to increase their cost based on increased costs. There's a term for that. I'll have to find it. Let me get to the right spot.
While you're looking for that, that section, it was section 9.
Yes.
That's from a contract that was signed like in 2022.
That contract was the only contract we had, and at that time, we had had a 5-year contract, kind of a rolling contract. And so when I asked Chassie to pull the contract for me and began to read it, I realized that our contract had been signed and basically ended the agreement. When we did this at that time, the council that was part of, or members who were part of the council at that time, we had had a conversation with some other people who dealt with picking up trash and garbage. And these folks came and made presentations, and Sanitation Solutions did. And the council agreed to go ahead and commit to Sanitation Solutions, but for a 3-year period. That contract was really up in February of 25, and so we did not have an extended contract. And so we have gotten something from them.
No, this,
correct?
Yeah, it says concludes February 15, 2028.
Yeah.
It rolls 3 more years.
Yeah.
Last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The conversation at that time was that what other companies could do for us and the dependability of startup companies, and looking at the benefits that we get from Sanitation Solution in terms of helping us with a couple of teardowns a year, scholarships they provide for a boy and a girl out at the school, some dumpsters when we do cleanup. So there's some benefits to having them.
I think pursuant to what that section 9 says, we agreed that they could increase it.
Yeah, and that's been typical. It's been the typical response. Yep. So, given that we agreed to do that, do I hear a motion to approve the contract with them for a 3-year extended period? And that's what it is, I believe.
I don't think that's the agenda item. I think the agenda item is the increase.
The increase, yes.
And I don't think we have an option.
I don't think so either. So
I motion that we accept the 2.51% increase as presented by Sanitation Solutions.
we have a motion that we approve the 2.51% from Ms. Lane. Do we have a second?
I'll say
A second from Ms. Massey. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. I have one more. I don't think. I gotta find my. Item G, changing the deadline date on certificate of occupancy for rental properties, ordinance from November 30th to a different date. This one was on the agenda before, and so, Chassie, you want to talk about that one a little bit? Why don't you get your mic so they can hear you? I'm sorry.
I did speak with Lori on this because I was concerned that because we could get this out by November 30th, or before November 30th. After looking over it and looking at the minutes, we could still leave it November 30th if y'all wanted to, and just start gathering information this year and knowing who owns our rental properties, and go from there.
But this ordinance states if they pay by November 30th, 2025, it's only $25. But if it's after that, it's $50. So I don't think that date would work. Unless you're going straight to the $50.
Well, I mean, or you can leave it that way and then they pay before the November 30th.
But that's it says 2025.
Well, we can change that, I mean, yes, we'll have to change the year, but I mean, cause don't they have to renew every year?
Yeah, but I think there was supposed to be some sort of date that's, everything kind of rolls around at the same time, is that right? So it
Yes.
shows up there, you do it, you get the early bird discount, if you don't have that. So you just need to fix a date, whatever it is, that you're gonna say, after this date, you don't get the early bird discount. If that's November 30th, 2025, then that's what it is. If you need to roll it back because the ordinance wasn't enacted, or wasn't effective then, you can just give it like a moratorium this year, or you can change the date. It doesn't matter. Whatever you do. What date would you suggest?
Well, I had suggested February the 28th, but our meetings have got moved, so, I did talk to Claude today about maybe like June, the end of June, if that worked for y'all, if we were gonna change the date.
Okay, do we have a motion, change it to June?
What day in June?
We can do it the last day, like the 30th of June, or,
Yep.
June 30th. I know there's a 30th because that's my sister's anniversary.
There's always a landmark someplace.
Okay, do I hear a motion to change it to June 30th?
So is everybody gonna be, if I go back in and type that in there and send it,
Yeah.
to get signed, is there is there gonna be a ripple effect on anything else in that ordinance? Is it like changing a line item on your income tax, and all of a sudden you have to go back through and change everything else? I don't think so, because that was just a date to get that discount.
That seems to be the main issue.
yes.
You approve that, I'll go back and do that, and I'll read it before I send it out. Make
Okay.
sure that-
I
So-
motion that we change the deadline date on the certificate of occupancy for the early discount to June 30, 2026.
We have a motion, Ms. Lane, that we change the date to June 30th, 2026 for the occupancy permit. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Massey. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our meeting time, our meeting, council meeting, at 7:07.